Rain pounded against the tall glass windows of the mansion, a hollow echo in a home that once breathed laughter. Ethan Morgan stood by the marble staircase, drenched from the storm, his breath shallow as he looked around the house he once called his own. But tonight, he wasn't Ethan Morgan, the billionaire entrepreneur gracing magazine covers. He was Ethan Cole, a quiet handyman disguised under dusty boots and a weathered cap. No one here knew the truth, not the staff, not the world outside. Only he knew why he had returned under the mask of a stranger. The last time he stood here, love had betrayed him, greed had stolen his peace, and the mansion had become a graveyard of trust. But tonight, fate was about to introduce him to someone who would change that, a young black housemaid named Amara, crying alone in the very halls where he lost everything. The echo of Amara's sobs floated through the hallway, soft, yet heavy enough to pierce through Ethan's heart. He paused mid-step, his hand resting against the golden railing, the sound triggering a memory, his ex-fiancée, Claire, crying in that same tone months ago, right before he discovered her betrayal. He clenched his jaw, forcing himself to move closer. Amara was kneeling by the grand piano, clutching a small framed photograph. Her uniform was slightly torn at the sleeve, and her trembling hands brushed away tears as if trying to hide her pain from the world. Ethan wanted to turn away. Emotions were luxuries he had learned to bury, but something in her brokenness anchored him. "Are you okay?" he finally asked, his voice deep yet gentle. Startled, Amara looked up, eyes red and puffy. "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to disturb anyone." "You're not disturbing me," Ethan replied. "But you are hurting. That's hard to hide." She hesitated, as if debating whether to trust a stranger in dusty clothes. "It's nothing. Just life," she said with a shaky laugh. "My son's in the hospital. I've been working double shifts to keep up with the bills, but I just got told they're cutting staff. Maybe even me." Ethan's chest tightened. He'd heard those same words from his employees, cold, corporate decisions that once made him feel powerful. But now, standing here, hearing the human side of those numbers, it hit differently. "What's his name?" Ethan asked softly. "Malik," she whispered, eyes distant. "He's 8. He says when he grows up, he wants to build a house so big, no one ever has to leave." Something shattered inside Ethan, memories of his own childhood, of losing his mother to illness while his father chased wealth instead of love. He saw his reflection in that boy he'd never met. As Amara tried to stand, her knees wobbled. Ethan reached out instinctively, steadying her by the arm. The moment their hands touched, an unspoken understanding passed between them, two souls carrying invisible wounds. That night, after she left, Ethan walked through the mansion's corridors like a ghost revisiting his sins. Every painting, every chandelier, every polished surface screamed of loneliness disguised as success. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel the regret, the pain, the emptiness money couldn't silence. But as he stood before the fireplace, the faint echo of Amara's sobs lingered in his mind like a haunting prayer. And for reasons he didn't yet understand, he whispered into the silence, "I think I was supposed to find her." Over the next few days, Ethan found himself drawn to Amara's quiet resilience. She carried her pain like a secret melody, unseen but deeply felt. Every morning, she hummed gospel songs while cleaning, her voice soft and trembling, yet full of faith. One morning, he caught her sitting by the garden fountain, eyes closed, whispering a prayer. "Lord, I don't ask for wealth," she murmured. "Just strength to keep going. Please, let my boy live long enough to see a sunrise without pain." Ethan stood behind her, unable to move. The words clawed at his chest. "Do you believe prayers change things?" he asked suddenly. Amara opened her eyes, startled but not afraid. "Always. Maybe not the world, but they change us. Make us softer, kinder, even when life isn't." He wanted to believe that. He really did. But he'd seen too much corruption, betrayal, and loss. "I used to pray," he admitted. "Then I stopped when I realized no one was listening." Amara smiled sadly. "Maybe you stopped listening first." That line hit him like a truth he wasn't ready to face. That night, as he worked fixing a broken window in the hallway, he overheard Amara's voice on the phone. "I'll find a way, Malik. Mama's gonna fix this, okay?" Her voice cracked. "No, don't cry, baby. You're my sunshine, remember?" Ethan put down his tools, his throat tightening. Later, In his small rented apartment across town, he stared at his reflection, the billionaire pretending to be poor, the man who had everything yet understood nothing about love. For the first time in years, he prayed, not for himself, but for Amara and her son. The next morning, he made a call to his private foundation, anonymously clearing Malik's medical bills and arranging a better hospital. He didn't want her to know it was him. Not yet. But destiny had its own plans. When Amara came to work the next day, she ran to Ethan, tears of disbelief glistening in her eyes. "You won't believe it," she gasped. "The hospital called. Someone paid everything. I don't even know who." Ethan smiled faintly, heart aching with joy. Sometimes prayers get answered quietly. She looked at him with gratitude so raw it left him speechless. "You know, Mr. Cole, I don't even know why I'm telling you this, but I feel like you've been sent here for a reason." He smiled faintly, masking the truth. "Maybe I have." Days turned into weeks. The mansion, once cold and lifeless, began to feel alive again. Amara's laughter echoed in its halls, and Ethan found solace in the simple rhythm of work, prayer, and quiet companionship. But secrets have a way of demanding truth. One evening, as a storm rolled in, Amara found a newspaper left behind in the study. The headline read, "Ethan Morgan, billionaire missing after business scandal." Her heart froze. The man in the photo was him. When he walked into the room moments later, the silence between them felt heavier than thunder. "You're him," she whispered. "The man who owns this house." Ethan sighed, removing his cap. "I didn't want anyone to know. I needed to see if there was still something human left in me, after everything I lost." Amara's eyes softened. "You didn't lose your humanity, Ethan. You just forgot where to look." He stepped closer, his voice trembling. "I thought wealth would protect me, but it only built walls. You reminded me what it feels like to care again." Tears filled her eyes. "And you reminded me that angels don't always have wings." For the first time in years, Ethan smiled. Not the smile of a billionaire, but of a man reborn. Months later, he reopened his foundation, not as a business investment, but as a mission for people like Amara and Malik. The mansion transformed into a sanctuary for single mothers seeking new beginnings. On its first opening day, Ethan stood beside Amara, who now managed the home. Malik, healthy and smiling, ran through the gardens that once stood silent. As the sun dipped behind the hills, Amara looked at him and whispered, "Maybe God never abandoned us, Ethan. Maybe he was just waiting for us to see each other." He nodded, eyes glistening. "And maybe healing isn't about fixing the past, but choosing to love again despite it." Moral of the story. No matter how much wealth, power, or pain we carry, healing begins the moment we open our hearts to compassion, both given and received. Sometimes, life's most profound miracles come not through fortune, but through kindness, humility, and the courage to see humanity in another's tears.